Good day everyone, and welcome to the first episode of my new crossbow coaching series, the Minutemanual. This is designed to be an in-depth educational series where I give my general and player-specific coaching based on viewer submissions. If you'd like to participate in this series, you can find the link to the Crossbow community Discord in the description below, where the rules and instructions on making your own submission can be found. Today's gameplay comes to us courtesy of Gareth the Grenade. Gareth has a 1.07 lifetime KD with 2 years of crossbow experience, and his desired improvements are positioning and rotation, which we'll be sure to specifically talk about today alongside a couple of other key topics. Alright, so let's quickly talk about the loadout. Gareth is running the crossbow and the ballistic knife, which is not the combination you have to run for this series, but it is the easiest one for me to coach considering it is the combination that I run every single day. So it looks like Gareth has got a stock on here. I personally prefer the tack laser, and I think this was pre-accuracy buff. So I believe the 16 strand is on here as well, but no matter. You don't have to do exactly what I run or anything like that. It just does make the coaching a little bit easier. Garrett's also running the throwing knives and stems. Stems are invaluable to this build, like just absolutely crazy. Like in the meta in general, stems are extremely powerful, but to this build, staying alive amidst your, missing your one shot that you have is critical, is paramount. So stems are very, very, very powerful with this build. And then throwing knives obviously completes the holy trinity of the sticks and stones, and also provides a good amount of utility to follow up your ballistic knife shot. Personally, I wouldn't go with any of the custom throwing knife variants, and I'll explain why. I know you paid for them, right? I know that they're cool, the flaming knife, the electric knife, the other knives, but the issue with these is that they're individual utilities, meaning that if you run over a regular throwing knife while you have flaming throwing knives or electrics or whatever, it will not auto loot the throwing knife. And I know you've got restock, which is really good for stems and throwing knives, but you're not going to be able to auto loot most players because it will not pick up the regular throwing knives, which is why I prefer to run the regular throwing knives, because most players have the regular throwing knives. Other perks, quick fix I don't personally recommend for your perk 1. And the reason for that is solely because the explosion part of your crossbow shot, if your enemy is downed or killed by the explosive bit, it will not activate quick fix. The actual bolt will, so if you hit someone who is very low health and they just die from the impact, or if you hit a headshot, it'll activate quick fix, but the majority of your hits are going to be, or your kills or your downs or whatever are going to be due to the explosive, meaning that quick fix is not being active most of the time. It does activate on ballistic knife and throwing knife, so there's that, but again, most of your kills are going to be with the explosive bit of the crossbow, so having quick fix is pretty useless in that regard. And then I'm gonna flame you even harder. Tune up is even more useless than quick fix, because tune up just increases revive speed. So if you're in squads, you can pick up your teammates in 4 seconds instead of 5 seconds, and in solos, if you need to self revive, it takes 4 seconds instead of 5 seconds. Super situational. Like the only situation in which that will help is if you down and your opponent downs and you both have self revives. You're going to get up faster than your opponent, but you're also going to do that anyways, because if you hit your explosive on your opponent and he downs you with gunfire faster than your explosive goes off, that means you're going to get up first anyways, which means you should be able to kill him if he downs to the explosion within your LOS. So really, tune-up is extraordinarily situational, and I do not recommend it at all. I would recommend amped all day long. The reason for that is because it pairs perfectly with this setup in particular. Switching from your ballistic knife to your crossbow usually has a heavy penalty without amped, but with amped on, that means you can have this out at all times you need to be moving and instantly switch to your crossbow whenever you need to take a shot or make a kill with it because of amped. Those are the changes I would make. I would change this serpentine all day long for blue perk, simply because it just gives you more health. And in the same way that stems are super beneficial, serpentine is super beneficial. And then amped for the reasons I previously stated. And then finally, just switching to the regular throwing knives. I know you paid for these, I know they're cool, but it would add that slight itty bitty tiny bit of competitive advantage, a little bit of more utility. But again, that's not as important as the perk switches. So getting into the gameplay here, looks like we're going to run with our ballistic knife out, which is fantastic. I don't have to worry about teaching that. Map knowledge is important. Obviously, looks like you tried to do a jump spot there, but that's just something that comes with time. That's not really extremely coachable. It looks like we're gonna try to get the high ground, which is not a bad starting idea. Gather some information. Sounds like we hear somebody below. I can't get the words out of my mouth fast enough. We're gonna slow climb the ladder. Guy to our right. Okay. Let's talk real quick. Ladders suck. I hate ladders. If you need to take a ladder to get to high ground, I would not ever recommend like slow climbing like you just did. I know you're in controller and you have that ability and it makes you quieter when climbing a ladder. But the reason I wouldn't recommend it is because, or for a few reasons. One, because you're essentially standing still when you do that. Ladders are already restrictive enough because you can only go straight up or straight down. And the most movement you can get going off a ladder is by hitting your jump button and kind of like falling down. So you're already restricted, which is you become a very easy target. So when you're moving at like -2 miles per hour, or kilometers per hour, excuse me, forgot we're European here. It really doesn't help your situation. In the game of Warzone, you can die within a half of a second. So you're just going to be a really easy target, especially when the ladder's exposed like this. Like if this guy was wherever he came from, right? Top, right, left, whatever. If he ended up pointing towards you instead of heading inside like he did, and saw you just chilling on the ladder, like barely moving, you're absolutely dead there. It's gonna take you longer to respond and react than it is probably to kill you. Even if you do decide to hit your jump button, you're still a very easy target as you fall. So yeah, just when you're if you have to take a ladder, right? If you absolutely have to take a ladder to get to that high ground or whatever, just send it, hit it full speed, because the quicker you get off that ladder, the sooner you're not a sitting duck anymore. So that guy went into the left. Looks like we're just okay. Still hear a guy below. We're just gonna watch this lane to see if he comes back out. We just got aim assist. Yeah, and there's a different guy all the way down lane. We got aim assist kind of through those barrels. That was a good shot. So I guess our watching that lane kind of paid off there. But we still have to remember there's a guy below us. Now there's presumably 2 guys below us, because there was a guy below us when we were on the lower level, and then the guy who had gone in that middle section. It looks like we're just listening maybe, or looking. We see a guy out on the keep. Yeah, the gatehouse. Gonna take a pot shot. Pot shots, I love pot shots. Like 99% of pot shots you're not gonna hit, especially from anywhere past like 60 or 70 meters, because it becomes extremely difficult to hit those shots on moving targets. But I love them because clip potential is insane, and they're extremely satisfying to hit from those distances. But again, in better lobbies with better players, they're going to be moving a lot. Most people aren't going to be standing still for you to hit those shots, or be moving in like extremely predictable patterns. That's a perfectly fine pot shot to take. Looks like we're just kind of sitting up here and taking pot shots. We should have a focus, which I'm not sure if we're about to get one. We're definitely just kind of hanging out on this roof. So let's kind of get to the positioning and rotations kind of thing. So we've got zone, as we can see here. We're outside, but a lot of this roof is inside. So if you wanted to stay on the roof, you're going to be fine for zone. However, not a lot of action going on over here. I mean, you've got guys all over the map, and being on this roof, it's one of the highest points in the map. So yes, of course, you're going to have LOS to a lot of people, but you're at a pretty decent distance, meaning that your weapon is not going to be the most effective, because obviously the crossbow, with its slow projectile speed and its heavy drop, is going to be a lot more effective at close range. So closing the distance between you and your opponents is probably the #1 way to increase your weapon's effectiveness. And even if you don't have red dots active, or you can't see anybody visually, or you can't hear anybody even, hit a focus like a contract, or so like you've got $7,500, you can hit a buy shop. Hitting those focuses will often get you in a position where you'll find or be able to track down some more players. And taking engagements is the #1 way to improve. That's the experience that will help you improve in Warzone, is taking engagements. So avoiding people is not something that I'll ever coach or I'll ever advise, because the less gunfights you take, the less experience you have in the game. Got a guy out there. Gonna take some more pot shots. He drops off. Got a guy below us. Okay, so he's... Okay, map knowledge right here comes in handy. This guy is inside this tower right here. And there's a window down diagonally on the outside of this tower, which means if we hear him moving around in here, and I know for a fact there's that window he's got to go through, we can go ahead and get ourselves a nice little angle on the window and just set up for when he auto mantles through the window, because that's an extraordinarily easy shot to hit. Looks like we might not know about that, which is no big deal. Again, map knowledge comes with experience in playing the game. He popped out. He's gonna mantle through that window. We held our shot a little too long there, and just let him kind of get inside. Don't be afraid to take shots on people, especially when they're not facing you, because they're not gonna have any idea where that shot came from if they're not facing you, for the most part. So don't be afraid. Don't hold your shots there. That's a perfectly fine shot to take. Looks like he's gonna re-peek. Yeah. Okay. Perfect example. So we've got windows. Windows are fatal funnels. Same thing with doors, hallways, and stairways and such. The reason they're called fatal funnels, obviously, is because they will provide a space in which an enemy has to either look through or pass through, that is very narrow and allows for us to hit our shots easily by not having to adjust as much, again, due to the narrow space that they're going to be present within. So anytime you're dealing with somebody in fatal funnel, again, we held our shot a little bit too long there, but anytime we're dealing with someone in the fatal funnel, that becomes very advantageous for us, because we only need to hit one shot, and they're going to have to hit quite a few. Okay, so we've taken three... Well, we got a guy popped out over there, but we've taken 3 shots from this exact roof, and normally that wouldn't be an issue if, you know, this player still hasn't acquired you, obviously, but we are very much out in the open. Our sight lines, the great part about high ground is that we have LOS to everything, but that also means everything has LOS to us, and we are just out here in the middle of cover, or no cover, right? Like, this entire side of the map has free reign on us. We've got cover here for if anybody decides to shoot us from, you know, outside that little quadrant there, but like everybody over here has got free reign, and it's going to be difficult, especially since we're standing relatively still. Once again, when we're not moving, it becomes incredibly easy for people to hit consecutive shots on us and pretty much fry us, laser beam us instantly. So I would be moving at this point to get a better angle on this player. Okay. All right. So I would have been moving to change angles, because after 2 shots, an enemy player can pretty much acquire your position. After 3 shots, they're going to know exactly where you are. This guy was kind of silly and re-peeked the same angle multiple times, regardless of being shot at, and regardless of the fact that this is Fatal Funnel, and regardless of the fact that you have a one-shot, one-kill weapon. So as you improve the quality of your gameplay, it's going to increase the skill of your opponents, which increases the difficulty of your gunfights. So when we coach, we're not going to worry about like tailoring specifically to people like this who peek the same angle 4 times against someone who has a blatant high ground advantage and first shot advantage and all that such. What I would have done there, just to be precautious against a better player, would be, you know, when we're up on that roof, we would have either rotated to the other side and peeked from that side, or dropped off and peeked from one of the sides of the little walls that we could have aimed from. Look at that drawing. Look at that beautiful drawing. You get what I'm saying, though, right? Sitting in the same spot, exposing yourself to the same person multiple times from the same angle allows them to take shots easier. So even though you were successful in this case, we want to coach you up, right? We want to put you in a better spot than you were. So I would have definitely rotated mid gunfight to at least slightly different angles to try to get that guy, or to try to throw off your own scent. But perfect, we won that gunfight. We're going to win, or we're going to loot this guy's spoils of war. I personally would always go with the Muni. Yep, that's a smart move, just in case you run out of utilities like stems and throwing knives. Now you've got restock. This guy dropping in on top of us. Okay. Sweet. Beautiful shot. Whenever we have that high alert where we get it from the left and then we get it from the right and we haven't moved, and or like we get it from the left, if we're getting it from the left right here and we know there's nobody in here, which is an impossible angle to be getting high alert from, it's probably because they're above us. So he just dropped in right on top of us, and we absolutely poopied on him, for lack of a better vocabulary. I apologize. Looks like we've got a fire sale going. We got a guy right across in the other tower. That's a great peek and a great shot. I would take probably one more shot from this angle before I rotate. And boom, he just sticks his little body out for us. Beautiful shot. Switching to the ballistic knife for movement. Gonna get inside. We saw a guy land to our left. A little behind, but no big deal. It's a fine pot shot to take. Played up. Beautiful. We've got our guy landing in. Oh, he's gonna land in close. Okay, so he's landed to our left. It looks like you're gonna just sit on his garbage, which is a viable strategy, if not a little toxic, but it works. And he's gonna come right to us. Only thing I would say about that, or I would hazard or warn against, is you were standing pretty still there. So if he predicted that you were gonna be, and again, this is caution against better players, right, or more competent players. If he was guessing that you were gonna be on his loot, he definitely could have made a peek through the window, and instead of mantling through and trying to get his stuff, obviously you didn't know you were there, but players who would assume that would definitely clear that room before entering and take shots at you. And if you were standing still like that, could have been bad news. We got a guy up there. Okay, so we take a shot at nothing, and then we're gonna cross immediately. In terms of positioning, or in terms of rotation, I wouldn't have taken that shot and then immediately exposed ourselves to that lane, because one, we didn't even see that guy because he had unpeaked. But if we shoot a projectile over that arc, and he hears it, he's like, oh man, somebody shot me from that direction, and he looks that direction, and now you're just sitting, you know, out here in a very exposed mid rotation, not looking, and he sees that, he's gonna take shots. Obviously nothing happened there, but again, this is caution against better players and better lobbies, and this is coaching you up. We got a guy landed behind us. Oh my goodness, absolutely did dirty to that guy. Didn't even full ADS. That was awesome. Okay, beautiful. You have a lot of money. You've taken quite a few fights. You've got some loot, and then you've got a contract active that you picked up earlier. So we need to have some sort of focus here. We need to focus on either getting our contract done, spending this copious amount of cash that we've acquired, hunting red dots, doing something like that, because we've kind of been moseying about the whole time and incidentally stumbling upon people. Take a shot at that guy. I wouldn't take shots like he was behind that wall, obviously, and you knew he was behind that wall, and then you hit the wall. I'm not sure if you're trying to do the damage through wall things or what, but I wouldn't take shots on guys you can't see, just because you could conceal your position for that little amount longer. So unless you can like 100% confirm that he saw you, he might have mantled that wall and come out into the open and been an easier target had you not taken that shot at the wall at something, or at a guy you couldn't fully see there. Okay, so looks like we're gonna swing to a different angle, which is good. Reposition, swing wide, get away from that grenade. He's gonna rotate right. Okay, I would say in this position, your goal again is to probably get a little closer to this guy and stop taking pot shots, because again, so pot shots are great and I love pot shots, but the closer you get to your target, the more effective your weapon's going to be. Again, with the bolt velocity and the the drop, right? The further you are away, it's going to be more difficult to hit your target. So as soon as you start taking engagements with people who look like they're trying to keep their distance from you, your number one goal should be to close that distance, make your weapon more effective, and essentially hunt this person down. Looks like he's just going to sit behind that little piece of cover. He's going to rotate cover to cover. This guy's a better player because he is making these cover-to-cover rotations, trying not to expose himself, trying not to stand still when he's exposed. Yeah, he's just zooming. He's getting away from you. Okay, so we're gonna disengage, which is fine. Or we're gonna re-engage. Luckily, we saw his gun there, or else we would have had no idea where he was. He's gonna back off. Oh, dude, barely missed that shot. He's backing off for good. Okay, so we're disengaged. We're just kind of, I mean, this is decent positioning. kind of high ground here, right? We've got a nice view, but again, our focus is kind of a lack here. We're not focusing on spending cash. We're not focusing on completing our contract. We're only focusing on visually acquiring enemy positions. We're not using our audio. We're not trying to reveal enemy positions through UAVs or through other contracts. I mean, we picked up a black market supply run, which is not the best contract for taking engagements. Obviously, it's more of a contract for increasing your econ because it has a pretty big reward. But it looks like we're relying solely on just kind of sitting still and gathering information, which is what and gathering visual information, which is what we're doing up on the rooftop. And so to take more engagements, I 100% recommend having a focus, whether it be a red dot, a contract, getting to a buy shop, because that's going to expose you to more players. And again, more engagements you take, the better you're going to get at the game. If you're scared of engagements or you lack the ability to win your engagements, and that keeps you from taking engagements, that just means you're going to stagnate as a player, and your skill will basically just plateau as you won't be taking engagements intentionally. Therefore, your skill, your gun skill, your movement, your everything, your positioning, your rotations will not improve. So definitely focus on, to improve your positioning and rotations, definitely focus on getting into engagements and learning from that experience, because we're just very slowly moving and trying to get, and we get the ballistic out. We can move from cover to cover here, which is good. We hear a guy to our right, maybe in the supply. Yeah, it's your right. Yeah, nice, beautiful shot. Okay, so that guy was making some noise. That's a good use of audio information, and that's a perfect example of moving to a new location to gather information. Like, instead of standing up here on this high ground and only relying on visual, we can move in closer. We can move towards a goal, say the buy shop or something. I know that one's underground, but I'm saying for future reference, obviously, moving towards a contract or moving towards a buy shop, and then getting that audio information and saying, okay, there's an engagement to be had. Let's take it. Let's improve. All that sort of stuff. This is decent positioning. But there's nobody over here. We've got somebody choking in the gas down below, but you're kind of just staring at the wall of the gas, and we can assume that there's no player hiding in this corner since you just killed a rose around the corner. Maybe somebody in the house, so crosshair placement should be more towards the house here. That's something I didn't really talk about that much in this video, was the crosshair placement. But you should always position your crosshairs to where you believe an opponent could be, regardless if you've heard or visually confirmed their presence. But that's just kind of like centering and crosshair placement are definitely just a general gunfight skill. It doesn't apply to crossbows specifically, but it does apply to crossbows the same as it does anything else. Got a guy below now. That was our guy who was coughing. Okay. So we've got 4 players left. That's 3 opponents. We've got 1 opponent that's 100% about to come up this ladder. We've got 1 opponent who was probably our guy who ran away earlier that was down the hill choking. And then we've either got an opponent here or here. That's going to be our last 3. And the reason I can say those 2 X's is because when we visually scanned, we cleared this, we cleared this, we cleared here, we cleared here. There's only so many places they could be. So we need to focus on obviously getting this ladder guy out of the way. And then we also have our second audio information on the guy up here in the gas. So focus on kind of killing this guy and then wrapping outside this direction towards zone, getting an angle on the second guy, but without exposing ourselves to this X or this X, because those are our unknowns. Those are we don't know where the last guy is. So we're just going to not expose ourselves to those lanes because he could be one of those. So we're going to kill the guy on the ladder. Sitting duck. Beautiful. And then we're full him. All right. We shouldn't fall down the ladder here for obvious reasons, but we've just had an engagement, which makes a lot of noise. It's quite loud. We already knew where this guy was, so by the time we get back up and out the ladder, he could be, he could have rotated anywhere now because climbing that ladder takes freaking forever. And also, again, we've made this noise, so our third guy, if he was here, hell, even if he was here, right, he's going to know exactly where you are, and this guy's going to know exactly where you are, meaning that until they see you rotate out of the tent, they're going to be watching it like hawks. And not only that, if it's the close guy, he's just going to push up to the tent and probably do exactly what you just did to that Snoop Dogg on the ladder to you, because now you're forced to climb the ladder or make an extremely lengthy. What you could do is make an extremely lengthy gas play through the zone. You have 4 stems, right? You've got your 2 active, you've got your munitions box, and maybe even like a restock goes off in that amount of time. I don't know. You could make an extremely lengthy gas play out of the cove. I wouldn't do it here just because that seems way too risky. But falling down that ladder is definitely gonna put you at a huge disadvantage here. So we're gonna, and then also like looting when you do your satchel, or when you do your plates or whatever, just be looking up. Just be looking at like in a direction where an enemy could get you from, because again, your crosshair placement now is on the ground, which is not going to be helpful to you at all. Just be aware of like opponents. At this point, we didn't hear anybody close, which means we can assume that the other guy was over here. So we've probably got a guy. We had our guy on the edge of the gas who probably rotated to this building, and then we've got the guy here who is either, you know, rotating back this way. I would say probably rotating back this way. We know there's nobody over here, or if there is anybody over here, it's probably the guy who repped all the way from choking the gas earlier. So we kind of had an idea of where people are. We're about to get pushed out by zone because we took too long. Again, on the ladder, we just took too long over here. Gas is catching up with us. We don't have a ton of options, but first thing I would do is definitely get out the ballistic. Oh, unfortunate. Okay, unfortunate. This guy was just chilling on the roof. So he was at the house. He had rotated. I didn't expect him to be up here, but regardless, we should have definitely had our ballistic out. We kind of didn't take that out until we started getting shot at. I would have had the ballistic out, and I would have been prepared to stem because we were already in a position where we knew people were going to see us. So I would have been ready to either stem and make a gas play or just stem up to this wall or something like that. But unfortunately, we got caught out. We weren't thinking about it, or whatever happened. No big deal. This happens all the time. And once we get shot, you know, we're starting to get lasered. There's not a ton you can do, which is why predicting your opponents, and even if you can't predict them, you know, you could have come out of that tent. Let me back it up a little bit. You could have done a little jiggle peek on this corner. So you could have come here and just kind of 80-80 strafed, or left-right strafed. Excuse me, I know you're on controller. You could have left-right strafed back and forth just to confirm visually like what is in this direction, and cleared it before you just sent it. You kind of just full sent. Look at that beautiful arrow. You just kind of full sent it out into the middle of nowhere with your non-movement option out. And it looks like as soon as you see this guy, you're like, oh crap, I gotta go. You switch to your ballistic knife, and then you try to, you know, get across the cover. Yeah, not a lot you could have done there after you started getting shot, but preemptively, there's a lot you could have done to prepare and position and rotate better ahead of time. And I guess that's what we're learning, right? That's what we're coaching. That's what we're learning. And that's just GG's. That was a good game. Yeah. That was a good game. Didn't quite, obviously we didn't win, but that's not important whatsoever, because all of the things that we learn for the most part come when we lose. You know, making mistakes and losing is how we analyze and improve what we've done. So yeah, I really hope some of this coaching helped. I know it's kind of a longer video than I normally do, and a lot more action, a lot less action, a lot more talking going on. But I hope it helps you, Gareth, improve. I hope anybody else who decides to stick around to the end has learned something maybe about their gameplay, or learned some general tips and strategies about running the crossbow ballistic knife and what you should and shouldn't be doing. And focusing on. So I appreciate everybody sticking around to the end. Thank you guys so much for watching. Again, if you want to participate in the series, you can go ahead and hit the link in the description to the Discord. Find the Minutemanual submissions channel in that Discord, and go ahead and hit me. I will do my best to coach. And again, I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you. And I don't know how to do outros still, so I will just say